Morning, this is Dave T1963. I released a video last night that I made back in October about the new Tethrd Phantom. Now it's late January, the ATAs happened, and I've actually had a chance to spend a couple hundred hours in this Phantom saddle, so I wanted to kind of give an updated review on this. One thing I blatantly forgot in that first video was another thing about this football shape that's just hard to see is there's a natural cupping action in this flesh or this net material. Because of how this will hang from a tree, this will cradle your rear end between the straps. It's just, when they used to make most of these saddles, in fact, Tethrd's the only one right now currently that's doing a football shape. But when you have that straight strap up there, it's hard for that material to flex or to stretch around the rear end and keep or maintain equal loads on both straps. It's just a design feature. Having changed this to a football, when this is weighted, there is extra material here that actually cups or cradles your rear end, however you want to say it. And that, like I said in the first video, that does two things. One, it really does support from both straps equally and allows the mesh to actually take on some of the load bearing. So it makes it more comfortable for some folks. Comfort in the saddle to me has never been that big of a problem. I adjust the straps. I basically was doing what the football shape was by manipulating the straps, and that's something you learn to do as you saddle hunt. But what I found with this one is I could just throw this on, go climb my tree and sit, and there was no adjustments I had to make. It just naturally assumed that weight bearing on both straps. So to me, that's a huge plus, especially if you're on a longer sit or you're one of those people that, you know, comfort is one of your big concerns. There's no doubt in my mind this is as comfortable as any saddle that I've ever sat in. In fact, I will say it's the most comfortable. And I haven't sat in every saddle ever made, but I've sat in 99% of them. The second thing that this football shape does is, like I said in the other one, a big complaint of a lot of people, once again, was the strap riding up the back side. And that has a lot to do if you're sitting, if in tether height and all that. The more of an angle, the more of your weight going straight down, of course the strap's going to want to ride up. And when you have those parallel straps, it tended to do that. This eliminates that. I don't have to adjust the straps. I just sit in this thing. So, you know, that football shape is definitely something I didn't cover adequately in that first video. First of all, let me just go over how I personally set up a saddle for hunting and how I use it. I only make there's only 3 things that I did this entire, I'll take that back, there's 4 things I did to the saddle. The first is I tied a loop out of paracord. I pulled all the inside strands out and just used the outer sheath. I put one on my right side to hold my 3rd stick. I tied a loop on the left-hand side to attach my Predator Platform. I take a zip tie and I put it through the first molly loop here. That's because I carry my lineman's belt, my pull rope, my tether, my bow hanger, all those accessories that I need up in the tree, my pruner and stuff. I have a quick carabiner on there that I clip right into this, okay? The only other thing that I did personally is because I put my saddle in my pack and carry it to my stand, and I dress at the bottom of my tree. I went ahead and stealth stripped these T-hooks just simply because I don't like to have to wrap these up and be careful. I can kind of drop these and wrap them up and they don't make noise now. So that's what I did as far as modification. That's it. Took me 5 minutes to set this up for hunting. Okay. Now what did I learn about using this saddle that I liked? First of all, you know, when I pick a saddle, everyone's going to have their own list of what they're looking for. My number one concern was I wanted something that didn't hamper my shooting ability, that I could shoot 360 with. Some of the earlier saddles, they had so many straps that they were just restrictive in being able to turn on a platform like I like to do. And so I need something that I can adjust easily, that's not overbuilt, as I like to say, to where it restricts my ability to move around on my platform. That's probably my number one concern. Of course, I like it being lightweight. I absolutely require my gear to be quiet. I know there's some people out there that say you don't have to pay attention to noise. Maybe 75% of the time, especially if you live in a windy environment like I do, that's true. Sound's not going to carry that far. But I had a lot of dead calm mornings and November crisp mornings where every little sound is amplified. And I have spooked deer carrying pouches and all that kind of stuff, scraping against the brush, turning in my tree and all that kind of stuff. So a saddle that's quiet is important to me. Now, I have to be able to put it on at the bottom of my tree without making a whole lot of noise and stuff. So that's another thing I look for. Being lightweight is probably right up there. Being safe. I want a saddle that's well made. I'm not looking for a fall restraint device like if I was a steel worker and I was going to free fall. I use my gear properly, and there's a proper way to use a saddle. Where if you fall more than, I will say, a foot using a saddle, you're not using the gear correctly. Okay, these are not fall restraint devices. So I don't care about all that. I want a saddle that's going to work and protect me while I'm hunting and for how I use it. I've said numerous times, I think the most dangerous point when you're saddle hunting is climbing the tree. Okay? And there's ways to mitigate even that. You can run a lineman belt and a tether and go up the tree. I do that sometimes. As I get older, I'm probably going to continue to do that more. If it's raining and icy, I will probably use my tether and my lineman belt in conjunction. I am not in any hurry climbing a tree. I take my time and I make sure the technique I'm using to climb a tree is safe. With a tree stand, a traditional tree stand, to me, the most dangerous parts were climbing the tree and then transitioning from a stick or a ladder or whatever into the stand was where I think the most opportunity for something to go wrong is. With saddles, you don't have that. You should be using your lineman belt and your attach, so once you reach the top of where you're climbing, you should immediately be hooking your tethered, if you haven't already done so, and hooking that into your bridge, and thus there is no transition to a stand. So that's probably what I look for primarily in a saddle. Of course, I look for functionality. I look for craftsmanship and all that kind of stuff. But in all reality, I'm looking for a quiet mobile hunting system that I can compact down and put in my pack. That's easy to transport. It's quiet. I can take it off, put it on, add clothing, and put it back on and stuff without making a whole lot of metallic or clicking noises. Not having to fool with a lot of over-engineering, a lot of buckles. It's the same reason I don't like a lot of the current backpacks made for day hunting. I just personally feel like a lot of the zippers used are too noisy. There's too many compartments. The material's getting more and more noisy, and I go the other way. I look for quiet gear. Like I said, most of the time it may not be a big issue, but to me, I minimize things before they happen. As far as functionality of the saddle and the things that I really liked about it, probably number one for me was this whole bridge and the comfort loop setup that I covered in the first video. Traditionally, I didn't like an adjustable bridge because I didn't like having the big carabiners or knots and stuff on my bridge because it used up some of my working length of my bridge. And once again, I like to be able to do that 360 shooting and moving around and pivoting completely on my stand. The more you restrict here, the less options you have with that. I mean, you can still do it, but I like having a full working bridge. I typically don't use a big bridge. My tether on a perfectly straight tree is usually about chest high now. If I'm going to have a long sit and I need to sit down and stuff, I'll probably keep it about eye level. And I I used to use my ropeman on my tether to make most of my adjustments. What I found with this year, I could probably go back to a Prusik on my tether because I could get all the adjustability and functionality of going between sitting and leaning using this bridge. And it's just, there's no limit on the working length of this bridge. Another thing I absolutely loved, and you can go back and look at my 360 shooting videos, there are times where a buck is coming in and I don't have a shot off my strong side. He's coming towards me or whatever, and he works past my tree, and I don't hunt high. A lot of my stands are 8 to 15 foot high. You're not going to walk around that tree with a mature buck that close. So you either have to go over your bridge like this, or what I like to do is just take real small movements and go 360 and then shoot them right here, okay? What I found with that, with the tether, it was harder. I was reaching up here to make adjustments with the ropeman to be able to spin that 360. With this bridge, I've got my bow in my left hand. It is so easy to extend out and to retract this bridge down here, down lower. I'm not reaching up here to do it and all that kind of stuff. So I was able to lengthen this bridge. In fact, you could probably custom make your own bridge length to actually get in a tree, figure out where you like to hook your tether, go ahead and turn that 360 and then set it up to where you have just the right amount of tether length and bridge length to allow you to do that, and then make your, you could cut it off and put your stopper knot to work at that exact position. The only problem you might get with that, where you would need further tether adjustment, would be in a really big tree. Okay, but the bridge length, you can work this out in advance to where you can get this really dialed into exactly where you want it and not have a whole lot of extra material. Okay, so I really like the functionality of that. I will tell you, I originally just said that I like the fact that how easy these T-hooks went into the leg straps was a plus, and it absolutely is. When you've got cold hands, it's the middle of November, bulky clothing, you've been out there for a while and you're wanting to put this saddle on, trying to thread this sometimes could get really difficult with the old Mantis saddle because of how tightly they were sewn. I never found that to be a problem. These were easy to get into. But something else I noticed about this saddle, now that I've used it for a couple hundred hours, is the positioning of this is far more comfortable. Okay, in the Mantis they had 2 different connection points that you could use. This only has 1, but this is perfect. This is exactly in the spot where it needs to be, in my opinion, to promote comfort and not cause any kind of hip pinch or anything, which I don't really see any issues with hip pinch most of the time. But the positioning of these things, I think they got that perfect on that. What else do I like about this saddle? I've covered the loop, the bridges, the shape of this, that, the lineman belt. Once again, I covered this in the first video. These things are just, they're perfect as far as how far they sit out in front of you. Once again, when it's cold and you got bulky clothing, being able to clip on and off is important to me. And the shape of them is just, they're easy to get that carabiner into and to lock up as you're going up and down a tree. So I really like that. I have no problems with the buckles. I will tell you this, I don't know what these buckles are called, but once you get this on and you snug this down, this saddle doesn't droop. It just stays on your waist. And additionally, with this bridge, a lot of times what I hated with some of the preset bridges was I always had to deal with that bridge hanging down. I'd tuck it here and poke it into pockets. It was just a pain in the rear end. I love the fact that I can just cinch this down around my waist, drop this in a cargo pocket or thread it through here, and I'm done with it. I don't have to deal with that bridge at all if I'm walking any distance to my tree. So that's a huge plus. Trying to think if there's anything else. Once again, I like the Mantis saddle. I have nothing against that previous model. It worked very well for me in 2018. I was able to harvest, I think it was $3 and a couple does that year. You know, a lot of people are going to debate whether it's worth another $249 to upgrade to this saddle. For me personally, it is. I absolutely plan on doing that. I don't resell any of my old saddles simply because I've modified them, and you know, I'm not going to assume any kind of responsibility for someone not knowing how to use a saddle properly. That, and I have a bad habit of collecting things. But overall, man, you know, there's a lot of people that's going to choose another saddle, and that's fine. We're all different and stuff like that. I will just say that to me, if you're a hardcore hunter and you're looking for a mobile hunting system that goes in just about any tree you could ever want to hunt, it's lightweight, it's quiet, it's safe to use. I don't think you're going to find a better saddle made today than this Tethrd Phantom. You know, and I am a field rep now. I test their gear for them when they ask me to. That's it. I don't get compensated for this. I am going to buy 2 saddles just like everyone else. As soon as they get on the market, I'm paying full price for them. I don't do this because I'm affiliated with Tethrd. Now, I do these reviews because I want you to make the best choice for you. There's a lot of saddle options out there. I can just say that Tethrd has been around as long as anyone else in the business. Yes, they weren't a company as long, but the guys behind it have been DIYing and hunting out of saddles as long. Actually, they're probably longer than anyone. Okay, there's a lot of people that had a lot of input on this saddle, and it's a good product. But hey, you pick the saddle that works for you. Hopefully, I've given you some information now. I will tell you that Tethrd is planning on doing a lot of, I think they're calling it, I don't know what it's called. I want to say rock and roll, but that's not right. But there's this road show that's going to come to various cities throughout the country where they're going to have actual field reps and hunters kind of get together that have used this, and so you can test it out and see for yourself. You know, I don't want to coerce anyone into buying anything. That's not the purpose of this channel. I'm just giving you an honest review. I've used a lot of saddles, and this is what, if you pay attention to my hunting videos in 2020, this is the saddle you're going to see me swinging in, unless something comes out that blows this away, which I don't see how it's going to do it, but you never know. But anyway, hope this helps you out. If you have any questions, you can PM me, leave a comment below. I'll get to them, and I just wish you the best of luck in 2020. Shoot straight. Dave T1963 out.